Man, that's downright mindful.
We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal.
Did we just become best friends? Yep.
We don't make mistakes. We have happy accidents.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
I don't need backups. I'm going to Harvard.
Remember these words. If it doesn't fit, you must acquit.
Do or do not. There is no try.
I still have a dream.
Welcome to Downright Mindful, a meeting place where we explore meaning, seek connections, and examine the relationships between people, events, and the ideas that shape our world. Hosted by me, Matt Paris, my friend and colleague Paul Sawswell, each episode will dive into thoughtful conversations that spark reflection and curiosity. Thanks for joining us. Now let's get right down to it. So we're here. Josh was not able to join us today, which has kind of last minute changed my my plans for the day. Not because, oh, Josh messed things up, he can't be here, so I got to change. It's because, you know, Josh ran into a thing that you and I probably ran into a lot in a different season of life.
For sure. Small
kids.
Yep.
At the time of this recording, it's the week of Thanksgiving.
Yep.
And that's hard to get away, man. It's not that it's even hard to get away. I don't want to get away when I'm in that season of life. What are you like back then when the boys are?
Oh, it's not even an option. Yeah.
That's
like
right.
There's just too much going on. It's family time. It's downtime. It's, fun time. I mean, they've been up since sunrise. So, I mean, we've been up for hours by now, where right now in this season of life, I got one boy left in the house and Isaac will be sleeping until he has to get up for a game today. It's that kind of thing. He ain't missing me right now. He don't even know where I'm at. Sarah, she's, sure she's doing some choring, getting ready for Thanksgiving, planning with her sisters and her mama, but she's also been reading already this morning. So, I mean, her day did not start at sunrise like it used to back in the day. And whatever Josh has going on right now, it's a little bit more hectic than us kicked back right now, just chatting it up. So, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, man. As soon as he sent us that text, he probably feels, oh, I can't make it. I'm letting someone down. But my mind went,
no, that was too easy.
My mind went automatically to, I mean, we're two guys that's been there. I remember being at the marshal's office one time, and I had some friends down there. I spent a lot of time down there transporting prisoners, taking them to federal court and this and that. And some of the guys I met down there were great. One of them was, you remember me talking about Ruby Ridge here a while back?
Yes.
One of them was nearing retirement and was boots on the ground at Ruby Ridge. So that's where that story began for me. Anyways, that's a rabbit trail if I follow that. But I remember one time one of those guys asked me, hey, a bunch of us guys going trout fishing this weekend, man. We talked about it. We'd like for you to go. And I was like, well, my answer depends on your answer to my next question. He said, what is it? I said, I got this boy. He's 6 right now, 7 maybe. Can he come? And he was like, oh, yeah, it's kind of a dude's trip. And I was like, hey, no, I'm not offended at all. I know if I expected that, but no, I can't be there because I was so in, man. Like I was locked in to like, I'm going to spend every second I can with this dude.
Yeah.
So it's not even a thought for me when Josh sends a text and says, hey, what was it, the way he worded it? I may have some things that are more important or whatever. And my answer is you absolutely have things that are more important than to sit around and talk to us through some microphones, Yeah.
Well, back in the day, locked in or not, I mean, Sarah stayed home for 10 years with those 3 boys.
Yeah.
So whether I was full of energy or full of nothing, I mean, like, I'm still in, right? It's still like you're on. It's the holidays, like help. And so a lot of that for me and the boys was, let's go outside. We had a pretty good backyard. We had a nice neighborhood. We had some woods in the back. And so this time of year was all about getting outside. There was what we called the horse tree, where all three of them could climb it and you just sit on it. You ride it like a horse. I mean, like imagination's kicked in, but like this was our day to day, you know, shooting BB guns in the back and I mean, just riding bikes on this really hilly neighborhood. But like there was no other options but to be here. But a lot of that came out of, I wanted to make sure I was there because that was different. My boys were raised different than I was.
Yeah.
You know, they were, especially at that age of 4, 5, 6, 7, you know, totally different for 7 years of their life. So it was a big deal.
Yeah.
Treasure it. But none of it was easy. But it was worth it looking back for sure.
What about this time of year? Think back to, you know, I don't know what it's like to move away from my family, live in a different state. I've always been pretty, I guess I could say blessed with being in town with pretty much all of my family is here. So we have traditions and things that we do that, you know, your role is pretty defined in who you are. And now over the years, there's places where you, as you progress and you age, you sort of carve out a new spot in those traditions. For example, when I was a late teenager, maybe I may have been in my early 20s when we'd meet at my grandmother's house for Christmas Eve. It's just a whole gaggle of people, Paul. It's just a small house that's just filled to the brim. People sitting on top.
You define for all the people what a gaggle of people is?
A gaggle of people is
that a number?
When there's a certain amount of people in a space and the space is not large enough the fire marshal wouldn't be happy at all. I mean, he would come in and shut the place down. That's a gaggle of people. Okay. Now, if you could expand the space, that gaggle would no longer be a gaggle.
And that would turn into
it'd just be a spattering. Spattering of people.
Oh, my word. Okay.
But a gaggle of people is at my grandmother's house on Christmas Eve, and we exchange gifts and we eat all the food in the world. But during that time, there's sort of a lull between food eating and presents being passed out. And so when I was a young man, at some point, I started singing just the most classic traditional Christmas carols that you can think of. And by this time, we had a lot of kids in the house. So I guess I was probably a dad. I was probably a young dad. And that's probably what it was, because I got nieces and nephews and, you know, of course.
I just imagined you saying I. Does that mean like you? Like, hey, Matt Paris solo? Hey, family, listen?
No. It's hey, guys, you've heard of Dasher and Dancer, and all the kids start singing, and we sing.
You would initiate that?
Absolutely.
I love thinking about that.
And dude,
piano, guitar, just
just voices, man. And we've talked before. My whole family,
right. Your fam would be all in.
We got 3-part harmony happening on Jingle Bells. Okay,
yeah.
But I've carved out a new tradition, and every year it's expected. And my niece Kaylee, now she's a grown woman, and I have Chase in my family, and he's that guy. He'll take that spot.
He's all in
for sure. He's all in. But what I'm asking you is, how does that? Because obviously you came here with Lee. We've talked about that before. You start this family. Now you have some in-laws that are, at least they're in town now. Mm-hmm. Were they always in town?
Yeah, Sarah graduated from Cleveland High School. So they were here. All 3 girls. She's the oldest of 3, all graduated from Cleveland High School. So they went down to Birmingham in 2001. So we got married in 99, but I'm hanging out with this family since 97. But if you're about to ask me, do I have a Thanksgiving tradition? It's Saudi Daisy. Like on Thursday, I will be in Saudi. I will be with the Smith family, which that's, Uncle Steve and Aunt Lisa. And right from the jump, that's what my Thanksgivings have been. We go hang out with them, and they're not even blood. There's no DNA shared, but that is family, 1,000%. Lisa just passed away 2 Thanksgivings ago, and so that makes it a little bit harder, but it's no less special. We all get together. We'll be in Saudi Daisy on Thursday, like I said. But Keith's first job in the ministry was being a youth pastor up at Saudi First Baptist.
Now, Keith's your father-in-law.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
And Uncle Steve was like a year younger. I think he was like 19 when he gets this job, something like that. He's a
Keith's
Brian.
brother?
No. This is Uncle Steve, Saudi Daisy, Thanksgiving on Thursday.
I got you. Yeah.
Yeah, there's no blood relation whatsoever, but is Uncle Steve, right? And so they're in the youth group. They become really good friends. And even as Keith and Marla move to other places, as story legend goes, did they come back to Saudi Daisy? Maybe, maybe not. But I know that once they did, so he goes to Texas for seminary and then comes back this direction to work at Westwood Baptist Church. That Saudi Daisy tradition is picked back up in the 80s. It's still going strong in the 90s. And like we haven't skipped a Saudi Thanksgiving in a long, long time. And that's just part of me marrying into the Habermas family I had to negotiate my first summer of graduate work. I'm in summer school and they do a Habermas family reunion and it lasts all week long.
Huh.
And back then in the late 90s, 50 people were showing up. Now in this summer, 2025, there'll be over 70 people there.
Wow.
For a whole week. And now we figured it out because you know how Sevierville, Pigeon Forge, Gatlinburg is. You can get a cabin.
Uh-huh.
You can fit that many people on 3-4 levels, right?
Yeah.
So you have that many people in one house and they enjoy each other's company.
Is that a gaggle?
That is I don't know. These cabins are...
They're pretty big, aren't they?
Huge. Yes, it's a spattering.
Spattering. Just a spattering of folks.
Yeah. So, it's just so much fun. So I'm married into a family that says, hey, let's all get together. And they really do. They enjoy each other's company. And remember, there's a bunch of kids there, so it's still loud. But we've lived that season of life. So it's like we look at all those cousins that are raising babies at that age and like, it's screaming. It's early morning. The sun hasn't come up yet. I'm supposed to be on vacation, and it don't matter because we've been there. We've been that parent with those kids going shh, 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 or like, oh, I got to take them outside, and it's like, 90 degrees already, or it's like 9 degrees outside, and you just do what you can to be considerate of other people. But nah, everybody's loving on each other. So the Habermases have been a big deal of showing me how big family can be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So move into December with me.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, this will air on December 15th. There's some things coming up we're going to be doing for Christmas or whatnot. What more specifically, what I'm asking is, as a dude who, your words is in the second half of life.
Yeah.
And you're sort of on that reflective end, or the, the part where you have some, is retrospective the right word?
You can, sure.
What have you, intentionally or not, what place have you carved out in the traditions of, for instance, what if Isaac was right here and I started interviewing him about his family Christmas traditions? What role do you play? Is there it could be singing Christmas carols at the grandparents' house, or it could be, we always go out and we chop wood for it could be anything. What are those things that maybe you haven't even thought of?
You said chop wood. I haven't thought of that. Maybe we should start doing that.
Maybe we should start.
Yeah, I'll learn Isaac, new tradition, buddy. Let's go chop wood. He'd love it.
He'd love it. What I'm asking is, let's say I snap my fingers and now you're absent from Christmas.
That's a terrible thought.
That's a terrible thought, but go with me here. Let's be mindful here.
Okay.
Besides, oh my gosh, my dad just disappeared. What will your boys...
At least I didn't die. I just disappeared.
That's right.
It's a magic trick.
You just disappeared.
Okay.
I'm going to minus you from the equation right now. What is it about the next week and a half, those Christmas habits, those Christmas traditions that your boys would say, well, my dad always did this, or my dad always did that? Have you ever even thought of that?
I don't know, because you're making it specific to me, and I'm about to hop right back into what we would do as a family. So, my parents have hopped around state to state, but they landed in Atlanta for quite some time, and so there's always a dinner. We'll go meet them, like it's about to happen on, I think, December 14th or something like that, and we'll meet them halfway between Atlanta and here. Sometimes, we'll land like near Dalton or whatever, and we just share that dinner. It's in the middle of basketball season, and there's always been basketball season. So, high school gets you into Thanksgiving tournaments and pre-Christmas tournaments and post-Christmas tournaments. And so it's always so hectic. And, we always make sure that's one thing. Nana and Papa, we'll go eat with them. And then we still spend the night at Grammy and Pops' house. And here's one thing specific to me, because this is going to happen again this Christmas. We always do a read aloud of the Luke message, and I'm the reader. Uncle Ben is the donkey. Tracy is Mary. There's always a baby doll somewhere along the way for Jesus being put in the manger. The little ones are angels. I mean, like everybody has a role to play.
Buddy.
Angels singing on high. And like my green, because I'm a White Oak Viking, 1995 graduate, Jacksonville, North Carolina. My green robe is always on somebody. I mean, it is so silly. These are the worst costumes ever, but they're always asked for by somebody. Our family situation is fun because we've got our 3 boys are pretty close with Abigail. That's their cousin. And you got this little gap, and you got Carissa and Evie Mae. And there's like a 9-year gap between this little cluster right here and these 2 right here.
Yeah.
So like we're getting as them as mom and dad and us as, aunt and uncle, like we're getting to redo everything again. Yeah. And it's a lot of fun. And our older kids love it. They go in on this as well. And so that's one of those traditions. And I'm always the reader. So I'll get like my chronological Bible that smashes all 4 gospels together. Uh-huh. And so every once in a while there will be an element that I'll read and somebody's like, well, we got to do this on the fly, And so, I mean, it's just so silly and it's so much fun and we do it every year. So I don't know. To answer your question, I guess.
You just answered my question.
Yeah. Who's going to read this year if Dad has magically disappeared, but will reappear at some point? I'm holding on to that hope in this
Dad
scenario.
reappears. You can read the story because that is fantastic. That's exactly the answer that I was looking for. Yeah. I mean, you probably didn't plan that, did you? Did y'all get together ahead of time?
I don't know. Did Grammy say, hey, Paul, be the reader? Or did I say, hey, I'll read, so I probably don't have to dress up? I mean, I don't know how it went.
Or because you are a poet and a wordsmith.
All I have to do is read.
You're a storyteller.
Anybody could have read.
You can't tell me you're standing there stoic, just reading words off of a paper.
I'm not.
You're speaking with inflection. You're inserting yourself into the story. I know you.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, that's
fantastic. A tradition for sure. I guess a Thanksgiving one, which you didn't ask. Uncle Paul usually says to everybody, all right, let's go find an adventure. Somewhere in Saudi Daisy, we'll just start walking through a field or walk over a hill or we'll make it somehow to that creek and then we come back. I mean, but I just bought all the adults some time.
Yeah.
And I've been doing that for a while, but that's kind of run out because, everybody's kind of growing up. And so we'll end up playing wiffle ball now or kickball or basketball in Chad and Callie's driveway. Different season of life, but like we always, I don't know how intentional it is. I think it's just the flow of our family to be in the same space and enjoy each other's company. It's cool.
That's a big deal. That's some of my, and I would say not just me alone, but others. I was talking to somebody the other day and I said, you know what? I can remember a few gifts I got for Christmas back in the day, but when you ask me about Christmas memories or memories that come from that time of year, it's never a material thing ever.
Yeah. And
I wanted some material things, man. I was like, it's not like I had everything in the world. We had everything we needed, but, man, I got some, my parents worked and saved and got us some pretty nice stuff at times. I remember getting what was that little recording device that Macaulay Culkin made so popular? Like a Talk Boy or something like that. You remember that thing?
I don't know if I know what you're talking about.
This thing looked like a camcorder, but you could play a cassette tape in it or you could record to a cassette tape and you held it in your hand. And it was the biggest thing at that time. You were a little old for
I am older than you.
You're a little older than me.
So when we talk about childhood stuff,
yeah, you would have been a teenager. I would have been just 9, 10 years old or whatever. But I remember thinking, golly bum, I got to have that thing, you know. Maybe it was that creative side of me. I don't know.
Did your parents do layaway?
Absolutely.
That's a Christmas memory.
Absolutely.
Mom would take us.
We did layaway year round.
Yeah, sure. How else are you going to pay for this, right?
Yeah.
So we have a lot of memories of picking something out, putting it, and then like you literally do forget about it as a kid.
You do.
And then boom, glad mom didn't forget about it. She kept making those payments.
Did you and Sarah ever enjoy layaway?
Did we? Probably early on. I don't even, does Walmart still do it?
I don't know. Kmart is where my memories go.
Yeah. For me, I think it was called Hills in Middletown, Ohio. We'd go shop at Hills.
Yeah. Val and I enjoyed some of that early. Enjoyed is a weird word for that, but
but it makes it possible.
We
right?
used it at times early on for sure. Yeah, golly bum, I would have never thought of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, we used layaway. But what I was saying is I enjoyed some gifts like that. I can remember getting a 20-inch bicycle called a Mudslinger that I'd looked at in a magazine for 6 months, and I never thought I'd get it. I got it.
Yeah.
But when you ask me about Christmas memory, it's never those. It's not even a thought. It's you know, my granddad reading a Christmas story, or it's my grandparents sitting around talking about things that aren't Christmas at all, or my dad telling a funny story about his dad or about his brothers or sisters and, you know, how they got injured or this or that, whatever funny story they come up with. But that's where my mind goes. Those, and you mentioned it, you brought it up, just that time together.
Yeah. Our family five, Aunt Sandy's house was a big deal. Grandma Broughton's house was a big deal. So we'd go hopping, right, on Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
And then end up at home. Yeah, those were good memories.
You ever go Christmas caroling?
Yeah. Probably not as much as that look in your eye, because I could imagine your family just going, hey,
oh, we really don't.
This is who we are.
The only time I've ever been Christmas caroling was like a planned event with like a youth group or something.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess, yeah. Our family, I don't know. That really feels like Grammy. I think she may even take the little girl still and go across like to the neighbor's house. And I know they drop stuff off. I wouldn't be surprised if they sang, but I guess that's youth group stuff, maybe.
Yeah.
The girls' basketball team at Lee, I may be making this up. I don't know. Did they go and I tagged along because I was a boyfriend? I don't know. A few times, but I'm not much of a singer. So even if I was with the group, I was probably sipping hot chocolate and acting like I was singing or playing it cool. I don't know.
That guy's important.
But it's fun. It's fun. I love the season. I love the lights. Lee always puts up these big trees. And when the boys were younger, I'd throw the bikes in the back of the Ranger and we'd go over to campus and we'd just ride campus. I remember, you know, they're 6, 8, 10. I remember, you know, Seth would, you know, that oldest kid, man, he gets to do everything first, right? Come on.
Yeah.
You can handle this. Let's go. But then I think about the youngest and he gets to do everything earlier, like everything.
Yeah.
No matter what it is. Even drive and have his own wheels and, you know, all that kind of stuff. So,
yeah.
I don't know if drive necessarily, but I don't know. Probably a better example is watch those movies or listen to that music, you know.
Yeah.
He gets to do that earlier, but yeah, those are good Christmas memories of riding bikes on the Lee campus.
Yeah. One time, you know, the whole place I'm going here, we've arrived where I'm actually going, but I just want to share some more thought with you and see what you have to say. One time I was listening to, and I've talked on here before about how I was raised up around gospel music, and you know, at one time I was an encyclopedia of Southern gospel music. But there's a group here.
Hold on. Now that we have technology, what would you call yourself? Because no one uses an encyclopedia. What would you be now?
I don't know. I've found myself using ChatGPT an awful lot as a thesaurus, the same way I used to use a thesaurus.
Huh.
I can say, hey, I'm trying to say this, but I need a better word.
Yeah.
And it'll help me with that. Now, I'll often go double check that and make sure that my meanings are correct and right. But yeah, that's the way I use AI. And that's, you know, we could talk about AI all day.
I totally interrupted that story. Keep going.
No, that's okay.
You're an encyclopedia of Southern gospel.
Yeah. I mean, you know, a lot of boys could, you know, they memorized baseball cards. Is that you that's told me about that?
100%.
Yeah.
Stats on the back of cards.
Yeah, you could tell all about baseball players. Well, I could tell you who Hovey Lister was at one time, even though he was, you know, he's probably dead and gone before. Anyway, there was a group locally called the Ingram sisters, and they're it's some of the Lee family now. They've married into the Lee family. Do you know any of those folks? You know the Lee kid they just hired out at Lake Forest. He's a teacher out there. I'm losing what he's teaching. Anyways, he hails from that family. But the Ingram sisters back in the probably starting in the early 90s, mid 90s.
Carolyn Ingram's name is in my brain.
Carolyn Ingram.
Did I make that up?
No, I don't think so.
Lee University connection?
I don't know.
Keep going.
I don't know. Anyways, I loved these girls singing, man. And, I heard them when I was a young kid all the way up through adulthood. We heard them, the last time I heard them was at the Fairview Baptist Church in Greasy Creek. But I remember just talking to my dad and saying, golly bum, man, I freaking love to hear them sing. Like they might be around here my favorite voices. And I said something, because I was singing at the time, and I think I said something just in private with my dad. I was like, I hope one day that someone feels about me the way I feel about them. And my dad, whether he meant it as wisdom or not, it was wisdom. He said, there's probably people that feel that way about you right now. I was like, what are you talking? You kidding me? Well, anyways, fast forward a few years, and I moved to the conversation where, we have Kyler, and then we have a gap, like the Evie Mae gap you're talking about, and we have some younger nieces and nephews. And they, as far as they're concerned, Kyler Paris might as well be King Arthur. I mean, he's the dude. So I would often remind him and nudge him and, hey, man, just, especially when you're around these kids, but even when you're not, make sure you're acting right. And because these dudes and these little girls they look at you and they want to be you. So be a good you, that conversation and those kind of conversations start speaking to me about these traditions. This, even though we come in here and my granddad's still alive, thank the Lord. And we've got this patriarchy where, even though he can't hear and he can't see, and he's got to where he don't know what's going on half the time, but that house at grandma's on Christmas Eve still lives and breathes.
Yeah. He's still there
around that dude.
Yeah.
Okay. But those conversations with Kyler and that conversation with my dad start speaking to me of like, who am I in this story? When other folks, when these young nieces and nephews speak about Christmas in the early and mid, the 20 teens, who am I in that story? And no, I'm not saying that's why I started singing Christmas carols at the house, but that's what highlights that in my story of like, well, now I've got to lean into that. That's a thing.
Well, doesn't that connect to what you, Zach, and I were talking about the other night about there are so many voices that have come into our life, whether it's like flesh and blood people in our town that have just stepped into our space and say, hey, I see you.
Yeah.
And they have spoken into us. But it's also, we read so much, we watch so much, we listen so much. And those voices, like they have helped shaped who we are. And then the three of us were talking about, hey, are we that voice for other people? Not do we want to be a voice. It's not an ambition. It's just, are we? And like, we can't deny that we are, and that could be a responsibility. That could be an accountability, but I'm going to capture what you just said to Kyler as a little boy. Just be you.
Yeah, that's right.
Be you already. You don't have to craft anything. You and I are talking about like, what other content can we create? You're doing some things on the side. I keep talking about photography and like, I want to do these things and I just want to share it with people. Yeah. Like I want to go around my town, and I already am just for fun out on Old Charleston Road, taking a picture of that one tree.
Yeah.
Heading out to Red Clay. I've got pictures. I mean, St. Luke's, I've been taking pictures of that thing for 3 years for no good reason, except I just want to every time I pass by there. Whether it's in my truck and I go real slow and roll the window down, or I'm walking, or I'm riding my bike. I mean, I was even riding before the sun came up one time this summer, and I'm taking pictures of St. Luke, and these blue lights started flashing. Whoop, whoop. I'm like, what's going on? Am I being pulled over on my bike? And he gets on his megaphone and says, it's not lawful to be on your bike without lights. And I was like, what?
Was it dark?
Yeah, but it was like the sun was coming up. There was already light in the sky, right?
Yeah.
And so anyway, like, but I'm taking a picture of saying, look, like I'm in the middle of creating content. Go with me on this.
Yeah.
But no, it's just me being who I am. And what are we going to do with all this? It doesn't matter. Be us. We have already become a voice. You know, when we're hanging out with 16 and 17-year-olds, do they get who we are right now? Do they care who we are right now? Are they processing what we're saying right now? I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. There's not always evidence that I know so, but I've been doing this long enough. But as you said before, you know, this second half of life, I'm going to go ahead and lean into that. The same way you have become kind of that within your family and these traditions. I want us to lean into this and go, hey, let's just keep being us. Right now, we're recording something. We're going to send it out in the world. Whether we get feedback or not, doesn't matter. Let's just send our voice out there and just see what happens. Whether that's knowledge, whether that's wisdom, whether that's laughter, whether that's just the pure joy of two dudes enjoying each other's company and their friendship gets to be shared with other listeners. Because I love that on the podcast. I've got my favorite folks, and when they bring their friends on and they're laughing together, I'll be walking my dog and I will laugh out loud. And I may never meet these two people ever in my life.
Yeah.
But they brought something into my space. And so, yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's a little self-encouragement to the both of us. It's just, let's just continue to be us, and we will create another conversation we were having between me, you, and Zach of just like, we can't help ourselves. There's nothing formal about what we're doing, and we're barely even trying.
Yeah.
We're just doing this thing. And so, I don't know, that is reflection, but that's also the work of the inner landscape of just being more comfortable with ourselves and being more comfortable in not having to try to be, I'll go with this one, a leader. No, you just go be this thing that people can go, I'll follow that advice, right? I'll follow that person into that place, into that space, into that relationship, and I'll accept the invitation to do, here it comes, good, hard things. I don't know if that was the intent of where you were going, but you just ushered me into that space of just, I am more comfortable in my skin at 47. There's nothing within me that wants to be 27 again. Mm-hmm. 27, my body felt differently. You know, I'm still running half marathons. Like, no, I don't want to return back to that physical space, because my mental and emotional space is just a healthier place to be. And I'm more connected to myself and to people, and life is just very full and very rich. And I think Thanksgiving and Christmas are reflective times to go, dang, I am grateful. And I want to make sure I communicate that. Shoot, right now to you, buddy. I mean, you really have created this space for us, this podcast for us, this opportunity for us, for Josh, who did the same thing by knocking on your classroom door and saying, hey, I want to do this. And we said, yes, we just need people to come into our space and say, hey, you wanna? Yeah. And I want to be that person for folks as well, and just go, hey, you wanna, understand how powerful storytelling is? That's my history class. Hey, you want to learn how to absolutely know at the beginning of a pursuit that it's going to be so hard, but it will be so worth it if you lean in and you get to do it with other people? Hey, that's basketball. Right? I've got 3 dudes who will be home for the holidays, and they are now living their lives, and I'm going to lean in and go, tell me more. Hey, you two, you're on your own right now. Tell me more. And I want to glean from wherever they're at and whatever they're learning and whatever they want to do and what their ambitions are, and I want to be inspired by that. And that was quite a monologue I just went on right there, buddy, but, I'm just still thankful for the opportunity for us just to be together and do what we're doing.
Yeah. It was quite a monologue, and it's exactly what I'm looking for. When Josh texted us today, I just had these thoughts. Now, I've got 2 sets of notes in my phone on what I wanted to talk about today. We haven't talked about any of them. But when he texted me, it just got me thinking about when I was younger and Kyler was younger and where my priorities were in that season of life. And also paralleled with that thought was, why am I worried about this script or this talking points. We didn't start this to do that. We started this to come in here and press record, and that's what we've done.
That's right.
And that's why.
Yeah, that's right.
That's all I wanted to accomplish. And I feel like we're a good bit into that.
Yeah.
Now, before we press pause again, I do want to remind you that it's December 15th at the time of this airing, and we got through the week of December 7th without bringing anything significant up. Anything you want to add to that from last week?
Well,
just setting that ball up on the tee for you.
Yeah,
there.
you did. I will be stopping everything in my U.S. history class and just camp out on that generation's 9/11.
Yeah.
So, the Japanese have some great ambitions in 1941. And there's really one last obstacle, at least in their view, and that is that Pacific fleet out on those islands in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. They go bomb Pearl Harbor, man. I mean, what a planned attack.
Yeah.
With the intention of, we'll hit them so hard they won't want to fight. Gosh, they didn't know much about the American way, did they?
No.
Because if you do that, I mean, like, we're all in. Look at World War I. The Lusitania goes down. That's a British vessel, but Americans die? Oh, my word, we're in.
Yeah.
I mean, there's more factors to that, but that's one of them. And that is, I mean, something happens to our people, and we're in.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, you're gonna hear another monologue if you just give me too much of this space. But December 7th, we've been trying to connect that in class of like that generation's 9/11, JFK, that generation's 9/11. The generation I teach now, there was a time where I could say, hey, remember 9/11? And I had these kids who were in 7th grade, 6th grade, 5th grade, 4th grade, and they had a memory of it, right? Of course, none of these kids do now. But COVID, I mean, generations from now, we'll look back how the world shut down.
Yeah.
Like literally shut down. And it's interesting. I mean, like that's their 9/11. That's their, oh my word, this happened to us. And we have a memory of it. So we just continue to go back and back and back and back and go, hey, every generation had something that just made everybody just stop and go, where do we go from here?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm resistant to the temptation, man.
Yeah, no,
you're about to give me my 85 minutes that I'm supposed to have, but
I can see your filters you're taking on right now.
Yeah.
My papa that I always talk about, he's 82 now, or 83. He was born on December 6th, 41. And I always, when I think about Pearl Harbor, aside from all the historical impact, I think about like my granny stinted in Polk County, Tennessee, probably barefoot somewhere, or just put up some wood or doing some chore that they were buddy. They're a book all in themselves. Anyways, I think of her holding that 1 day old. And did she even know? Did she even know what was happening, or did she understand the impact of it, or was she fully aware and she's holding that 1 day old going, what am I going to do? Like, oh my God, what kind of world did I just bring this baby into?
It's interesting. Yeah. I mean, I have a evening edition of the Cleveland Daily Banner of December 7th, 1941.
Wow.
And it talks about how the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor. It talks about like over 1,000 people die. In the end, we'll find out that it's over 2,000. So like these are the first reports coming in.
Yeah.
But obviously there was an evening edition, at least in Bradley County. I'm sure she knows, the radio in 41. Yeah, I'm sure it's all over the radio if you're not getting the newspaper at that time.
Yeah.
So, because I mean, like, here comes a military draft.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the men are going to leave. The women are going to fill in these positions at home. Something's on her mind.
Yeah.
Yeah,
for
sure.
I'm certain.
Yeah.
For sure. Well, folks, I believe we're going to move on from here. We want to wish you a Merry Christmas and happy holidays. We hope that all of your traditions are blissful and they're spent with family and they're spent with reflection. Paul, add to that.
Well, I just want the people to know that that's the Charleston train they keep hearing since we're out here in the country, or that's my cell phone. So safe travels, everybody. Many blessings. And I'm just thankful you've put me in this space, and I'm grateful to be here.
Yeah, man. Well, I'm grateful that you're here, and I'm grateful to have these conversations. And maybe share them with some people. We have some ringers, as some people would call it. We have a pretty solid small foundation of folks who are just waiting on our next conversation to come out. And I want those people to know that we appreciate them and that we want to hear from them. I want you to, reach out to us, text us, find us on Instagram, Facebook, comment on Spotify, however you can communicate with us. I'd love to speak to you, not only in person, but on this show. You never know what you comment on Spotify that we're going to bring up in here. So we're going to start reading those things soon. So take that opportunity to like, share, do all of those things. And just know that these two guys and Josh, who's absent today, we miss you, Josh. We do appreciate you, and we want to hear your input. And if there's something that we've talked about in the past and you want us to talk about it more, let us know, because that's what we do. We just talk to each other, and that's what this is all about. It's what it's been about from the beginning. And anyways,
hold on. Shout out to Rob Blackaby. So I'm going to have to return back to the intro and finish that second half of what all those voices are.
No, yeah, go.
Because he already hollered at me and said he knew who Johnny Cochran was. And he knew what wall Ronald Reagan was talking about. So he was bragging a little bit about his knowledge. So I got to make sure that I follow up on that second half and we get into some of those details. Because we do have listeners that are of our age bracket and understanding of like, man, there's a big world out there.
Yeah.
So I loved Rob texting me. I got, other people that are giving us some love, but also like entering into the conversation. Yeah. Like compliments are cool, but conversation is cooler. Like hop right in. And so that's been fun to do.
Well, I'll say it. I mean, it's not only Rob, and thanks for listening, Rob. We appreciate you and we want your input, but there's some younger folks that are listening to you spill some wisdom. Everett Shreth is one that comes to mind. Of course. Shout out to that guy. He listens to us and he's commented on our stuff, and I appreciate him doing it. Anybody else you want to give a hello to that is listening?
Well, I don't know if Dave Mullins listening yet. He said he was going to the next time he was hopping on the elliptical.
Nah, he ain't listening. He's playing pickleball. He's playing pickleball,
he is. Nah, he's working out every day, though.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Sure. Treadmill, something, whatever you said, Dave. So listens, and we can chat about it.
Yeah.
Nah, that's all I got, buddy.
Yeah, man. Again, thank you, folks, and reach out to us in some way or another. We appreciate all the feedback, and we look forward to hearing from you soon. Man, that's downright mindful. You've been listening to Downright Mindful with your hosts, Matt Paris and Paul Salzville. Produced by Josh Morris. Intro and outro production by Derek Kinsey. You can find us wherever fine podcasts are downloaded. Thanks for listening.